Welcome, everyone. How are you? Yay! Okay, again, I'm Dr. Miyuki Arimoto. I'm taking care of internship, which is tied to today's event. And it's my 8th year at Western. Time flies, isn't it? Well, actually, one of my very first advisee, Easton, is sitting there. Oh my gosh. It's such a proud moment. What I like about Western is very close-knit campus community, as you can tell. And especially faculty like to interact with students, so we enjoy conversation with the students. So let me talk a little bit about what I'm doing. So I'm teaching juvenile justice. So it's about your peer group, right? But, as you all know, young people's life is not always good. Not everyone is happy-go-lucky. Unfortunately, some have to face day-to-day difficulties. But we don't know much about juvenile justice. Hey, when it comes to criminal justice in general, we have a lot of TV shows, fantastic TV shows. CSI, Criminal Mind, Law and Order, you name it. But we don't have juvenile justice TV program. So we will learn something we don't watch on TV at college. So some of the panelists will talk about maybe what they have learned at college while they are here. So let's take some time to learn about what some of the alumni are doing in their field with their criminal justice degree. Are you ready? Yes. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so first question is to everyone. So please introduce yourself, including your graduation year, the agency you work, and your position. So let's go with Caprice.
Good morning. I am Caprice Massey. I took the scenic route in my undergraduate degree and graduated in 2023. And I work with Washington County Sheriff's Office, and I am the Washington County Sheriff. And I'm going to throw a plug that Washington County is the oldest county in the state, and I'm the first woman to serve in that role. I had to.
All right. Well, my name is Kevin Jones. I work for the FBI in Salem, Oregon. We are a smaller office. Our main office is in Portland, but I work in the one in Salem. I'm the only intel component there, so I support federal investigations within the 5 counties surrounding us right here. I graduated from Western in 2012. And my internship actually got me into the FBI, which I'll probably discuss at some point today. So, and I also work, like I said, I'm a tactical specialist, so I work the intel side of things.
My name is Aaron Stotler. I graduated Western Oregon in 2015. I currently work at juvenile detention in Yamhill County. I'm a supervisor there. And so juvenile justice is something that I'm a little familiar with, and hopefully we get to talk about that.
My name is Houston Demir, and I work for the Washington County Sheriff's Office Forensic Science Unit. I process crime scenes, and I graduated in 2015. And it was also my internship that got me the experience to get my job.
Hello, I'm Jacob Pruitt. I graduated in 2021. and I'm a federal case manager at the Northwest Regional Reentry Center in Portland.
My name is Easton Christ. I graduated with my undergrad in 2021 and grad school in 2023. I work for the U.S. Probation for the District of Oregon, and I'm a U.S. probation officer.
Hello, my name's Isaiah Putnam. I graduated in 2023. I'm currently a second-year law student up at Lewis & Clark in Portland, and I work as a law clerk for an attorney, John Gutbitzal. We represent individuals who have been accused of crimes and take those cases to trial.
Thank you, everyone. You know, although we cannot invite people from all possible criminal justice agencies, we have good representation today. It's good. Okay, second question. Why did you choose Western for your undergraduate degree? So let's go with Houston first.
All right. I chose Western because I had been advised that it was the best school in Oregon for law enforcement careers. I already knew that I wanted to do forensics, so I enrolled in the forensic anthropology minor and did criminal justice in order to get the forensics.
Thanks. How about you, Easton?
I was born and raised in Oregon. My father had a career in law enforcement, and he graduated from here with his master's degree, so I had only heard great things. Heard great things from the professors, meeting with Miyuki and other faculty when I first started, just like you are today. And also for me, it was close enough to being home without being too close to home, so yeah.
How about you, Isaiah?
Yeah, I'm also from Oregon. I grew up in Kaiser, and it's only like half an hour away, and I wanted to be close to home. I also knew I wanted to be a defense attorney, and I thought I knew criminal justice was the right path, and it really helped me out. Before I went to law school, I'd already read a statute, already read some case law, and it really put me like on greater footing than some other students who didn't take criminal justice.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm going to go with Kevin for the next question. So, what classes did you like best, or in which did you learn the most? How did the professors contribute to your learning in those classes?
I think it would be hard to say if there was one particular class that I enjoyed the most. My transition into criminal justice was, I'm not going to say accidental, but I showed up at Western with not a solid plan as to what I wanted to do with my life, which at the time I thought I was the only one that felt like that, but as I later found out, that's a very common thing. And I had a friend that was taking a criminal justice class, and we were talking in the dorms one day, and he was telling me about the things that he was learning, and it just naturally clicked with me. And I thought, well, that seems pretty interesting. At least at this point, I thought my degree was going to be in education, and then I thought it was going to be biology, and then I thought it was going to be psychology. And I was talking with him one day, and it just kind of clicked. So I took a class, and I can't for the life of me remember what class it was. But it was just a natural thing, and it just, like I said, it clicked in my head. And it's from there on out, understanding that there was a structure and that there was an entire system in place that would contribute to my success. And I met with my advisor, and I realized, like, oh my gosh, you want me to succeed in this field? This is nice. Like this was more support than I had certainly through high school. And I can definitely say, without the support of my advisor, I would not have had the idea to even apply to the FBI. And the guidance that they were able to provide did directly contribute to my success.
Thank you. How about you, Jacob?
My path getting here was a little bit different than most people. I showed up here as a football player. I wanted to be a football player. Didn't really know career-wise what I wanted to do aside from that. And then I realized early on that was not going to happen. So I had to figure something out. Took a couple of intro CJ classes, and it wasn't really until I started learning about corrections and reentry that my interest was really sparked, and I figured out, hey, I could have a career in this. So I ended up playing my years of football, taking classes at the same time, and then COVID hit, so I got an extra year. And so my coach, Coach Ferguson from across the way over there, he offered, hey, if you stick around, you can start your master's program. And then what really sold me was when I figured out that there's an online option for the master's program here. So got really interested in reentry, took a bunch of more classes, and then my first job out of college was at the reentry center, and I've been there ever since. So kind of an odd path, but we got there.
Okay, how about you, Houston? Could you please close to the microphone?
Sure. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. What was the question again? Sorry.
What classes did you like best, or in which way did the faculty members help you?
I mean, I've always been a science nerd, so all of my forensics classes were amazing, especially forensic osteology was memorable. I got my first C on a test in that class, and it was shocking. But I got an A in the class, don't worry. But all of my forensic classes really drove home the fact that I knew what I wanted to do from a younger age. I decided when I was in high school that I wanted to go into forensics, and then pursued that. And the classes here, as well as that internship at the Salem Police Department's crime lab, all of those connections are what led me to being able to get into the job that I wanted.
Thank you so much. So I guess you had really good foundation during your undergrad here.
Yeah.
Great. So I want to come to you first, Caprice, for the next question.
Oh, boy.
In what ways do you think your criminal justice... So I'm doing wrong. I have to be closer to the microphone.
I see what you did there.
In what ways do you think your criminal justice degree from Western prepared you or gave you an advantage in your profession?
Maybe differently than some others as well. I had been working in law enforcement and public safety generally for about 16 years, maybe actually about 20 years before I came back to school to get my undergraduate degree. And one of the reasons I came back to school was because a couple things. First, I wanted to change my opinion of how I could be as an academic student, because when I left high school and went to university the first time, I made it a year and a half before I realized that I was neither mature nor responsible enough to be successful without my mom and dad telling me to get up and go to class and do my homework. So I needed a little bit of extra time, so I joined the Navy, and I did that for 9 years. What I found by coming back was that my life experience really helped me to understand and relate to the information differently than it did when I was younger. And then having that undergraduate degree really helped me as I was elevating my career beyond commander and getting ready to run for sheriff. And for everyone who doesn't know, the sheriff in Oregon is an elected position. And so having that undergraduate degree in addition to my work experience and the other things that made me qualified to be the sheriff, it really helped sort of help me stand apart from those others who might have considered running for sheriff at the same time.
Thank you. How about you, Aaron?
Can you repeat it?
Okay.
I was listening very intently.
Yeah. In what ways do you think your criminal justice degree from Western prepared you or gave you an advantage in your profession?
Yeah, so I did my internship with the agency I work for now, and while I was here at school, I came into my freshman year and was a little overwhelmed and distracted, and I came here intending to be a criminal justice major and wanted to be a law enforcement police officer. And then as I kind of went through more of my courses and met some professors who introduced me to more corrections side of things, and through some of those experiences and my internship, I definitely kind of found more of my niche and where I wanted to be at. And so my perspective changed throughout my college experience, and that led me working with juveniles. And, regrettably, I wish I could have taken more specific courses towards juveniles, but as a whole, the professors that I recall at the time really had a very big impact on the passion that I kind of gained from taking those courses, and it continued to motivate me to continue. So it was a very good experience.
Thank you. Now we have juvenile justice concentration, so we can prepare our students more to get into the juvenile justice field. So Isaiah, your experience is quite unique.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, criminal justice really prepared me for the field I knew I wanted to go into. I already knew what makes up what elements are of a crime. I've read a statute. And law school can be really daunting when you first start. And so having just a basic understanding of the system, of how an investigation is carried out, really put me in a better position. And then through that, I was able to get this job I have now, because I just was able to stand out from other peers who were learning it for the first time, whereas for me, it was more of a review.
All right, thank you so much. So before moving to the second set of questions, is there any questions from the floor? Don't be shy.
Right here.
There's some over on this side.
Oh.
Oh, no, someone else's back.
Gonna be the mic runner. It's on? Okay. There you go. I have a couple questions, if that's okay. For Ms. Macy, would you recommend women to enlist into the military as a way to help them progress through their degree in terms of tuition and real-world experience?
Wow, that's a tough one. I think today's military is probably quite different than the one I served in. My oldest daughter was a Marine for 5 years. I gained the discipline necessary for me to be successful. But I think it's really individual, because I kind of wish that I had been able to be successful at university and start my career a little bit earlier in that way. But the tuition assistance, what you get out of the GI Bill now is a lifetime, which is drastically different than it was for me. It's rigorous. I was deployed for a long time when I was a single parent. And so I guess I struggle with recommending it or not recommending it. It's just so individual, but it is a great avenue if the resources aren't available to pay for university and furthering education, because you also can get your degree while you're serving and then still have access to all of those benefits later.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I needed it, let's be clear.
For Kevin Jones, being that you're from the FBI, you have experience getting a degree from Western. Would you say that Western, in your personal opinion, is a better choice for getting a criminal justice degree compared to PSU?
I can't speak. I'm leaning in close this time. I can't speak on what the degree from PSU offers. Again, I can only speak from my experience here. I can say that the personalized approach that Western provided me, and that continues to provide their students, really opened so many doors that, frankly, I didn't know were even there. So I didn't know that the FBI offered an internship at all. It was because of my it was because of my advisor that he had recommended, hey, why don't you look a little bit more broad? Let's look at all your options before we make a decision. But so because of that guidance, it opened the door for my practicum. And from there, it just kept providing additional opportunities. So what I mean by that is because I got my degree from Western, it allowed me to do my internship, which allowed me to get hired full-time by the Bureau, which then allowed me the opportunity to get a master's degree, which then allowed me the opportunity to come back here and teach. So now I'm an adjunct faculty here. So I'm able to give back and provide a lot of the guidance that I found so valuable. And what it gave me to assist me in my everyday duties, it's opened me up to ask questions and to be the one, because that's how it is in these classrooms. If you don't understand, you put your hand up. You say, I don't quite understand what that means. Can you repeat that? Can we go over this? And it allowed me to ask specific questions that I found to be valuable now to lead the investigations forward. So, and not being shy about it, because that's just how I was trained in my degree, right? And it also gave me an incredible solid foundation so that when I went into the field and I started working federal cases with the FBI, I already knew what a lot of these things were that we were talking about. So it limited the amount of questions that I had to ask, because when we say, oh yeah, well we have to go to grand jury next week, I'm like, grand jury, I'm on it, I know what that is. So I think that for me personally, it was one of those kind of forks in the road that led me to where I'm at, and I would not have ever decided to change it, and I'm really happy, and it very much worked out. With a strong caveat, I never intended that this would go this well for me. I had pretty low realistic expectations, and but I think it was because of my advisor, and it was because of the staff and the education I got here that really gave me the confidence to be like, I don't know, how does one work for the FBI? I don't know anybody who works in the FBI. So it led me that way, and it's really continued to pay dividends.
Thank you. And for Huston, do you have any tips for future forensics students in general?
I would say in general, just making sure that if you're interested in forensics, there's a lot of different avenues you can take within that. I process crime scenes, but there are a lot of people who don't like looking at all of that stuff. Not that I like it, but I can do it. But there's also avenues where you can just be in a laboratory setting, testing DNA. So looking at all of the different opportunities out there, reading through different job descriptions and finding out how you can set yourself up well to be a competitive candidate for those types of positions, and then trying to find internships and network and connections, go do ride-alongs, go tour labs, do all of those sorts of things to see if it would be a good fit for you and your lifestyle.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes.
Okay, maybe one more question, and we're going to ask another question at the end of this session. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Just a quick question for Mr. Kevin Jones. What was the interview process for the FBI like?
Well, what a great question.
Thank you.
So when I started, just to give you a context here, I had no idea what the FBI was really like. I had just watched TV, I'd watched movies, I had in my mind I think this is maybe what this is going to be, but I was just, I don't know what the word is, bold enough, dumb enough, curious enough, whatever, to just apply. So I applied knowing nothing about what it was going to be like. And the whole process, start to finish, they sent me an email back, which I thought immediately was spam, because who gets emails from the FBI? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I applied. They're actually, and then it was sign these documents. I'm like, here you go. So I sent it back, and they're like, thanks for those. Sign these other documents. I'm like, so I signed those, send them back, and they said, oh, okay, great, yeah, let's come in for an interview. And so first thing I did, besides kind of hyperventilate a little bit, was I called my dad, and I said, Dad, I need a suit. And he said, what do you need a suit for? I'm like, you're not going to believe this. I'm going for an interview. And he's like, oh, where? Like, because I was working at Fred Meyer. And he's like, why are you like, are you food, like, assistant manager? And I'm like, no, for the FBI. And he's like, why are you going for an interview with the FBI? And I'm like, well, I applied. So anyways, so the interview was not what I expected it to be in a very positive way. Because I went in and I was expecting, like, what kind of questions are they going to ask me, right? It was just like any other interview with the questions a little bit different, right? They just want to know who you are. They want to get to know you a little bit. It's a very formal, standardized thing. It's like, tell me about a time that you had to work with a coworker that was, difficult to work with. What was the situation? What did you do? And what was the outcome? Like, stuff like that. There wasn't anything weird. It was very nice. There was just two agents that were sitting there, and I was in my nice suit that my dad bought. And afterwards, I'm like, I think that went well. And they emailed me back, and they said, come in for a drug test. I'm like, okay, no problem. And then they said, come in for a polygraph. And I'm like, the what?
The what?
The polygraph, which, again, wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was just what you would expect them to want to know. And after that, I'm like, well, not going to work for the FBI. I'm pretty sure I failed that. And then they emailed me back and said, you passed, and, we're going to start your background, which took forever to do. And they sent investigators here to talk with faculty and staff and my friends and my neighbors and stuff like that. And then at the end of it, they said, well, do you want to have a job as an intern? I said, yes, please. That would be great. And so I did my 10-week internship in Portland, and then I finished off the rest of my senior year. I was going to classes here at Western, and I would drive into Salem and do my internship. And at the end of that, they offered me a full-time job, which then started that whole thing that I just talked about. So it was much better than I thought it was going to be. So,
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. And at the end, I promise you have more time to ask questions. And also in the afternoon, you can ask hiring process or internship opportunities to the bunch of agencies in this room. So, we are curious what they are doing, right? So next question is to everyone. What does a typical day at work look like for you? Could you remind your agency and position before describing? So can we go down the line from Caprice?
Typical day for me is not as exciting as probably all of my counterparts at the table. Again, I am the Washington County Sheriff, and my day is filled primarily with a combination of meetings and community partnerships, connections, community-based organizations, and then spending time with the 620-ish people that work for the Washington County Sheriff's Office. Culturally, I think that we haven't always done a good enough job of just really putting our people first, knowing that if our people, our staff, the people doing the work are well, then they will serve well. And it's important to me to prioritize them and my time with them, focusing on their physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial wellness so that they can serve well in a career where statutorily, PTSD is presumptive in the state of Oregon after 5 years as a first responder. And so it's really important to me to prioritize how people are managing the consistent responses to trauma day in and day out by showing up differently than people showed up for us when I was coming up. And so my job is also to think strategically for the office and the community 5, 10, 15, 20 years into the future, and so I do less of the responding. However, I also pull traffic on my way to and from work because it's fun.
There you go. So my average day, it's hard to say what a typical day is, and I feel like that's been consistent throughout my time. So I started as an intern in 2011, And every day is a little bit different. Every case is different. So we cover the 5 counties surrounding us here, including Polk. And it typically, like we have, I think right now, I think we're up to 172 cases, and there's 5 agents and me trying to work all that stuff. So there's always something else going on. There's always, just when you think you have an expected day of like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to run the phone tolls for this person. And then a phone call comes in and it's like, hey, we need to shift and now we're going this way. I'm also a member of our evidence response team, which covers all the evidence response incidences within Oregon. So that will oftentimes kind of pop in, even though I think that my day is going to go a certain way, then it's, oh, hey, we need you over here, over in Bend, or hey, we need you out in Klamath Falls, or hey, come to the coast. So it's a very, it's kind of a sporadic schedule, but usually I just spend my days finding people, places, and things to advance federal investigations. That's like the simplest way to put it.
So average day working in the juvenile detention facility in McMinnville, I started there as an intern myself and worked there for a few years. Worked there for a few years and eventually found myself an opportunity to work as a supervisor. Average day there is, safety and security. So oftentimes, our staff there are trained to use productive de-escalation skills, and so we want to have a safe environment. We want to have a fun environment. The reason for detention obviously is it's a youth jail, and so to protect the community, the youth at a place like that, it ranges from maybe more minimal to very extreme where people are being hurt with weapons. And so obviously safety is a big thing there, but working through mental health related issues and behavior issues and trying to find a plan that works for those people or those kids can be a struggle at times, but can also be very rewarding. And having good people working in those types of positions is very important. As young people that you may be, obviously respecting adults can be maybe difficult at times, but so building rapport and having a good professional relationship where I can tell you that you're doing something wrong or that you need to stop, and it's easy to digest because we have a rapport. And so it can be very fun. It can be stressful at times, but we are just one facility. Other detention facilities run a little bit differently. We work with different counties. So Polk County youth and Clatsop, Tillamook, and some Washington County youth as well. And so get a nice diverse group of kids there, and just managing populations and providing support to those kids is the daily routine.
So a typical day in forensics, I don't think there is a typical day. There are days where maybe I'm not dispatched out to any crime scenes, and then I am lucky enough to be able to try and get through my 8 million reports that I have to write. Then there are other days where I get home from working a 10-hour shift and I'm home for 6 minutes and my phone goes off and I have to head back out to a homicide for another 10 to 16 hours. So it varies quite a lot. We also, we testify in court. We do anything from, the lower risk side of crimes like property crimes, working your way up to robberies, assaults, and homicides. So there's a lot of variety, which I enjoy. You definitely have to be flexible in order to be able to manage the kind of chaos that brings of not having a routine per se, and being able to manage all the parts of your position so that you stay on top of things. You have to be very organized.
So just to give some context on our facility briefly, we have over 150 beds. We're contracted by the Federal Bureau of Prisons, U.S. Probation, and United States Pretrial Services. So we get clients from who are technically still adults in custody who get out of prison, federal prison, on good behavior, or via the First Step Act or other things like that. They come to our facility, they wear an ankle GPS monitor, and they get access to the community prior to their sentence being terminated. So we work a lot with clients on that side of things, but also we work a lot with clients like Easton's clients who, catch a violation for a positive UA, and the judge may order them to go to the reentry center for up to 120 days. So we work with a variety of clients. So my job on a daily basis is to come up with case plans that are going to help these people be successful and help them rehabilitate and hopefully not recidivate. And so we're working with outside agencies, community partners. We're working within to make sure we hold our offenders accountable, but also setting them up for success for when they leave our facility and reenter society. Because at the end of the day, everybody involved in the justice system, for the most part, is going to reenter their community. So we try to give them the skills and the tools in order to be successful when that does happen.
I think like most of the people on the panel today, there's no typical day in probation. When I was thinking about this question, I kind of summarized into 3 different areas. My day usually consists of casework, field work, and court. When I say casework, it's kind of similar with Jacob. We're assessing people's risks. We're trying to figure out exactly what they need and how we can make them successful so they don't recidivate. That might be doing risk assessments. That might be referring them to community partners to get treatment. Getting them resources for, getting them a job, stuff like that. Working with these individuals, and it's very individualistic. It's very focused on that person because some people might need different things. Regarding field work, that's us going out into the community. We are armed. We go to places like the RRC, meet with clients there. We go into people's homes. We meet their families, meet their kids, aunts, uncles, all sorts of people. We really try and meet with them and kind of understand where they're coming from. That's another aspect of this job is getting to know the person and how we can better assess their needs. And then last, court. We do have an obligation to the court, as Jacob would say. People are ordered by our federal court to conditions of supervised release, and they act as if they're on these conditions, and so they can't use drugs, can't commit crimes, and they're very specialized conditions considering treatment, as Jacob say, positive UAs, or if they commit a new crime, or even if they just stop showing up to probation, they just don't interact with us anymore. They could come into custody and they would have to, go before the judge. And at that point, we're required to, outline all of the violation conduct and express to the court a recommendation for what we think would be suitable for the case. That could be, more custody time. That could be inpatient treatment where they're required to go to treatment. It's a wide variety of different things. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a law clerk for a defense attorney. We try cases all over the state, mostly in the metro area, so Multnomah, Washington, Clatsop, Clackamas. And I've been working for Mr. Gutbitzel for about 8 months now. It's really evolving. When I started, it was all work from home legal writing. We represent a variety of clients, so my biggest win was I wrote a motion to dismiss for a juvenile client that was granted, which means that juvenile doesn't have to go to trial and defend himself in front of a jury. When I started, I was what's called uncertified, which means I couldn't appear in court or speak on the record. That will change in about a month, and then I'm going to be getting my own clients, starting out with low-level misdemeanor offenses, and then work my way up through the years through minor felony, major felony, and then eventually capital. A normal day as the legal writer was my boss would send me a discovery file. I'm very nosy, so I go through everything, even when I might not have to. And then he'll say, can you find something to suppress, any sort of other things, issues you see. We were in trial last week on an attempted murder, and that was a lot of work. So the 9 to 5 was suited up just like this, sitting in front of 12 random people, doing my best to look polished. And then the 5 to 9 is prepping for the next day and getting myself to sleep. So trials can be really grueling, and but it's a lot of fun. It's never boring. you're always learning new things about people, about how crimes are committed, and it's a lot of fun to be on the front lines. And I want to end by saying Oregon has a serious unrepresented issue. Right now, there's 4,000 Oregonian defendants who do not have counsel. And it's a really serious thing. So if you want to help out people and you don't know how, consider doing the steps to becoming a public defender, because we really need it, and it's very rewarding work.
Okay, thank you so much. So to stay on the right track, I'm going to skip one question. Okay, what do you find most exciting or fulfilling about your job? So let's go to Aaron.
All right, so fulfilling, and there's can be a lot of dark days for young people while they're in a facility like a detention facility, especially if they're there for a very serious crime and they're pending. They're with us, pre-adjudication, so they're looking at maybe going to a longer-term Oregon Youth Authority placement, corrections, and it can be really daunting for those kids to have to face that, and so being able to provide some level of meaningful support to them where they can focus on building some skills while they're there and not getting so sucked into the real difficult part of managing and processing the huge thing that they're facing. And so I'd say that, when you have someone who's really going through a bad day and maybe they're acting out and you're able to kind of really sit down with them and have a meaningful conversation, and they can tell that you're being genuine and you're not just saying what they want to hear, and it's a good connection there, and it means a lot, and so it's pretty rewarding in that way where you can kind of help them out even just for that day or that moment. So.
Thank you. How about you, Jacob?
I would say similarly to Aaron here, but my most fulfilling part of my job is definitely the success stories that we do have. You can get bogged down by the failure a lot of times, but I think it's important to focus on and praise people who are successful coming out of our program, and whether that's getting that first job or completing substance abuse treatment, reuniting with kids, family, gaining back custody over their 2-year-old. It can be a variety of different things, but just seeing the success stories and seeing people progress through our program and, with the ultimate goal of them not recidivating and coming back to us. Obviously that happens, but us as a facility, we try to really focus on the success stories and try to model our approach to working with other adults in custody and other probation clients in that similar way. So yeah, just to sum it up, the success stories are really cool and fulfilling.
Okay, Caprice, quickly.
Exciting or fulfilling? I'll say that having the opportunity to bring who I am as a human to this role, which is not better or worse than my former sheriff, who was amazing, just different, has been really awesome for me. For some context, I have 3 daughters. They are all biracial, and having the opportunity to show up with my lived experience and work to hopefully give some of our historically marginalized communities a different experience than maybe they had, or even their parents or grandparents had in public safety, around the country, has been incredibly fulfilling for me. And it really has guided sort of my having confidence in my competence in a way that I didn't think I would have. And then leading what in my biased perception, is the greatest public safety organization, because I did work for one on the East Coast, and for some context, that sheriff is in federal prison. So, leading the most extraordinary professional, compassionate public safety agency really allows me to step into that role because they've actually embraced me and approaching it with who I am. And so that has been more fulfilling than I ever could have dreamed of.
Thank you so much. So, the last question from me is, what would you advise students interested in pursuing your career path? What advice do you have for people considering our criminal justice program? So, Isaiah, maybe watching Law and Order?
Yeah, if you are even slightly interested in being a trial attorney, criminal justice can help you immensely, whether you want to prosecute or defend. Obviously, I'm very biased on the defense side, but we need good prosecutors as well. And then even if you're not interested in practicing law, criminal justice was an excellent program. I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed my qualitative research class. I enjoyed my forensic anthropology class, and I hate science and I hate statistics. And the faculty here does their best and succeeds at making it really interesting. I was really grateful to be a part of this program.
Thank you. How about you, Houston? Maybe watching Bones?
Do not watch any forensic programs on TV unless they're actual documentaries like true crime. That's okay. Actual case studies. But I would recommend really just getting out there and trying to network. I know, especially post-pandemic, a lot of different agencies and different arenas where internships were available before, they have either temporarily been shut down or reduced or just put on pause. So you might need to be a little, I don't want to say pushy, but just, advocate for yourself to get into some internships that will benefit you, where you can give back. You might get a lot more no's, and just don't let that deter you. I would also recommend, no matter where you want to end up, if you feel that you want to be on this side of the criminal justice system, just to present yourself in a way that makes you hireable. So, being careful about what types of social media or what you're posting on social media, all of those types of things, and then surrounding yourself with people who will build you up and who you can build up as well, rather than maybe people that you tend to possibly fall into trouble with. Those would be my recommendations.
Okay, let's try one more time. So, Kevin, maybe watching CSI or Criminal Minds?
Yes, watch CSI. That will tell you everything that you need to know. I think that, yeah. Watch, what's the one that, watch Quantico. Yeah, that's very fitting. I think just some general advice. Going into criminal justice, it's okay to take the time to really focus on your degree and focus on your studies, and don't get too far ahead of yourself in I need to have a job lined up for the moment, before I graduate. Let's not put the cart before the horse, in the sense, let's make sure that the grades are good, and interact with your instructors. Take advantage of an advisor. That, I can't stress that enough. If you take advantage of your advising support, that will help you immensely. Advice going into the criminal justice profession overall is, it's okay to not know what you're doing. It's okay, especially when you start. I had no idea what I was doing. And even when I got hired, I walked in the first day, again, in my dad's suit that he bought me, right? I had no idea really what my job was. They said, well, you're going to be working in support. I'm like, I don't know what that means, but it's okay, because I'll figure it out. And I walked into the office that I was working in, which ended up being a confidential file office, which was a whole different story. But I'm like, I don't know anything about this, but I'll learn, right? I'll ask the questions. I'll be curious. I found that a lot of times people are too shy maybe to ask, or they somehow expect that they should know all of these things before they start, or they're too embarrassed to ask a coworker or a boss or a friend. But it's okay not to know what you're doing, because you'll figure it out. And then just be kind to yourself while you're trying to figure out what you're doing in life, because I had no idea, and it worked out quite well. So.
Okay, thank you so much. So any questions from the floor? Anyone? Don't be shy.
I have one question back here.
Okay. I'm sorry if I get this wrong. Macy, I do see that we have like a lot of females here, and I just wanted to ask, like, as a woman, do you think it's like easier or harder to achieve greatness within the justice system?
Oh boy.
Like, as like you could say that it's like a particularly male-dominated field, and so I just like, with today's social standards, do you think it's easier or harder being a woman within that field?
Well, I think it is both. So honestly, I would tell you, I think at least it can be easier to get a job in a criminal justice field for a woman, because we are working so hard to be more representative of our community, and the skill sets that a lot of women, and this isn't to the exception of men who are amazing at them, but what I've seen over the course of the last 24 years is that we, by our very nature, do de-escalation, for instance, almost intuitively, because the people that we're contacting oftentimes are men significantly bigger than us. And so we rely on our ability to de-escalate naturally. And so those skills are more important now than ever before. And it can be harder in the workplace, once you're there, to be seen as competent off the bat. And I felt like I have often had to work harder and been better, stronger, faster for the same recognition. And so it also leads to why it's so important to me to have significantly more women in this field. We could do a better job of having that network connected, so that, just naturally that's going to evolve. And people, I can speak for our sheriff's office here and the one I worked for in Norfolk, Virginia. Out there, it was not inclusive at all during that season. It may be much better now. Here, it's a much more professional, inclusive, honorable environment. And so, but we still have room to grow. The more women we have doing the work in all of our different areas, the more quickly that will evolve.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
This might be a bit of a stupid question, but
No such thing.
what are your guys' thoughts on networking through LinkedIn? If you know what that is, even.
Oh, I'm not that old. I suck at responding to LinkedIn because I'm super busy, and I hear it's really awesome, though, for people to network. I just don't make time for it. You guys probably have better.
I don't.
No.
I have it, and I know, like, you can get a lot more access to
Yes.
a lot of really great job positions, and
Yep.
so I think it's really helpful as far as seeing what is out there. I know we tend to kind of look in our comfort zone of what's nearby and what's easy, but it can really broaden your horizons in that aspect.
That's smart. That is smart, kid.
Yeah, I can say I never met more people who actually used LinkedIn before I started working for lawyers. They use it as their main Facebook. Obviously, it sounds like law enforcement are not as involved in LinkedIn, but in the legal profession, it is all on LinkedIn. So I can speak to that.
I have one hand this side. No?
I'm not a student anymore, but I used to be, so I'm gonna just take that and say that I can ask a question. But it's more a comment, actually. If you don't take anything else from this experience except this, I think this will be really valuable. We put this together to show you what the possibilities are more than anything else.
Very diverse.
These folks, not all of them, but many of them were sitting in your same position a few years ago. So if you don't take anything else with you, just think about the possibilities. We tend to film this on a yearly basis, so I encourage you to look at our website so that you can see other folks who have participated in these kinds of panels in all different kinds of professions. I actually participated once. I'm now faculty here, but I used to be sitting in your same spot many, many years ago. So just, if you don't take anything else, think of the possibilities. This could be you one day, regardless of the specific career field that you want to pursue. So.
So thank you.